Okay, this is going to be a little project on how to get your presentation drawing done. So you're going to set up an artboard that's 15 wide by 20 inches high. And it's going to include first this scale drawing, which we'll go through, and then this Photoshop document that uses your design in perspective. Okay, so what I've done is I've got one that's started. So this is the template that you'll download, the scale template. It's in the benches folder. You can see I've done quite a bit of it, and you can figure out how to do this. The part that is a little bit tricky is as you're drawing, how do you get these exact squares? So especially if you've got a design like this, you can see that there's a lot of part of the design's going off the edge. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's just really simple, making a clipping mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use aspects of this part of the bench to make the bench top, and you're probably going to do something very different, but the theory is exactly the same. So if I was really lazy, I would just take this and crop it and put it up there, and I think that's what I'm going to do just for the video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to copy it, Command C and then Command F. I'm going to go ahead and just put it up there. And I'm going to center it like that. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to make a clipping mask that this size. And the size of that is, because it's 1/4 inch equals an inch, the size of this rectangle right here, the back of the bench, is 20 inches by 1.75. So I go to my rectangle tool, select it, and then just type in 20 by 1.75, hit OK. I don't need a point that big. I can just do like this. And then I'm going to move it right on top. And my guidelines are telling me that I'm centered, right? Just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the clipping mask and the object, and I'm going to go Object, Clipping Mask, Make. All right. So there's the back side. So that's it. So it's in position. The one thing I need to do is put it down here. So again, I'm going to copy it, and then I'll just bring it down here. Slide it up a little bit, and that looks pretty good. I think this is a little bit off in scale, but it's fine. Okay, so let's say I've got that done. Making the clipping mask for this would be exactly the same size. It's 20 inches wide. You can do the math, figure out how wide that is. I think it's 2.5. I can't quite remember. But anyway, you're ready to go. So before you do anything else, eventually you're going to want to save this, but we can actually take these objects as vector objects and we can paste them right into our Photoshop image. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select one of them, and I'm just going to Command C, and that means I've copied it. Now I'm going to open up my Photoshop document. So this is the image that I took. Now if you look at it, it's a very large image. See, it's 22.9 megabytes. So that's going to be way too large. So I'm going to get it closer to the size that we're going to use. So I'm going to make it 9, and I would suggest you do this. Make it 9 wide, 9 inches, and then whatever height it is, and change the resolution to 300. Okay. And now all I have to do is hit Paste or Command V, and it's going to ask me, do you want to paste this as a smart object? And I'm going to say yes. And then hit Return to enter it. And then one thing we need to do is we need to rasterize this. So we're just going to go to Layer, and then we're going to go to Rasterize Smart Object. And now that's going to let us do a lot more with this. Okay, so now what we want to do is edit the scale. So we're going to go Edit, Transform, Scale. So we want to get this to be a little bit closer in scale, and I should have rotated it also. So I'm going to go Edit, I'm going to go Free Transform, That'll let me rotate it a little bit. I'm going to hit the Shift key, get it a little smaller. Come over here, get a little smaller. All right. So this will be okay once we put it into perspective. Now what I want to do is go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Transform. And I want to go Skew. All right. And that's going to let me pick these ends. What I want to do is I want to pull them in perspective. I want to see this a little bit better. You can see as you do this, it kind of scales it. It just takes a little bit of messing around. Usually the closer you get, the more specific you can be. Make sure that snap is not selected, because that will inhibit your ability to get this in exactly the right place. This looks pretty good. It's not quite. And you know, if you want to be believable, we'll leave the top edge of the blue of the bench showing. So that looks pretty good. So hit Enter to enter that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my Illustrator file, and now I'm going to select the bench seat. Hit Command C, and then I'm going to go back to the Photoshop file, and I'll hit Command V. Hit OK. And then hit Enter. That places it, and then you go to Layer and go to Rasterize Smart Object. All right. And then again, we've got to get it in position, so I'm going to go Edit. I'll go Free Transform, and I'm going to rotate it a little bit, and I'm going to have to bring the scale down, so I'm going to hit the Shift key. That looks a little bit better. Still a little bit big. Hit the Shift key again. All right. And then I'm going to rotate it up. Okay. And then I'm going to go to Edit. And then I'm going to go Transform, and I'm going to go Skew. All right. So again, I like to get this to be a little bit bigger. Pull it into the corner. Pull the skew. Sometimes you have to let go of it and then redo it. Okay. And then I'm going to pull this to the front edge. You can see it moves it around a little bit, so that's okay. So one of the things that's a little bit weird here, it takes a little bit of monkeying around with to get it just right. That looks pretty good. Now, you can see that this is probably correct. I probably need to pull this back just a little bit. But, and it is, if you look at it, this line is going towards the same vanishing point as this. So this would actually be incorrect. So what I can do, I'm going to go ahead and enter and place it. And then I'm going to cut this out. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just select this little area right here. And then hit delete. Oops, there's some stuff right there that I didn't get. I can come back with the eraser tool and get that if I want to, so I could just take the eraser tool and just clean that up. There we go. And it looks good. Okay, so I'm going to go File. I'm going to save it. I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'll save it as a JPEG. Okay, and so now I'm going to go to my big file here, And one of the things that I need to do is I need to go back to my original, and again I want to export it, so I'm going to go File, Export. I'm going to export it as a JPEG. JPEG's a little bit better for us. It's going to say, yes, I already have that. And I want it to be CMYK because it's for print. Hit OK. All right. And then I can either select it and paste it, or I could go to my Photoshop. I'm sorry, I could go to my document, and I'm going to go File, Place, and then I'm going to look for that JPEG right there, Place. And I just know from doing this a couple of times I need to scale it down, so I'm going to go Object, Transform, and I'm going to go Scale, and it's about 45% of the original size. Hit OK. You see it's still a little bit too big, so I'm going to go to the Selection tool, and that's going to allow me to scale it down, so I'm going to hit the Shift key. And I want this to be about a half an inch from the edges, so what I'll do is I'll pull in a guide, and that's a ½ inch. And that's a ½ inch. And then let's also make sure that we've got Snap to Grid Set. Hit the Shift key. Boom, that looks good. Don't worry about if this looks sort of pixelated. Once you've save it as a PDF, it'll be fine. Okay, so that's in there, and now I need to place the Photoshop file. So I'm going to go File, Place, and I just need to look for my Photoshop file. It's right there. And it comes in close to the size I need, but let me scale it up. So I hit the Shift key, and again we just want it to be, we don't really care what the height is, it can be anything, but we want the width, if it'll fit, we want the width to be, it looks like it would be too big, so just sort of eyeball it, so it's even on the side. That looks excellent. Alright, I'll place it. And now all I need to do is save it. So I'm going to go File, and you could save it as an Illustrator file, but for printing we're going to need it to save it as a PDF. So go File, Save As, and give it a name. And save it as Adobe PDF. Hit Save, Save PDF, and that's it. It's going to save the file, and then you'll be ready to print. And again, we want to print this at CalCopy, and we want to use the Enhance Matte. That's the paper. It's going to cost you about $10 to get this printed. Okay, that's that.